Right now, somewhere in China, a regular person is sitting inside a two-seat aircraft with no pilot, no joystick, and no controls on the dashboard. They tap a screen, pick a destination, and just fly there. No license, no training, no stress. And that is not a scene from a movie. That actually happened. At the same time, in a testing facility outside Shanghai, engineers just certified an engine that gets 106 miles out of a single gallon of fuel. That is not a typo. 106 miles. A world record verified and stamped by Guinness World Records. The world of transportation is going through the biggest change since the invention of the car, and it is happening faster than most of us can even process. In this video, we are going to walk through 8 flying vehicles that are already real, already tested, and already changing what getting around means for everyday people. Then we are going to talk about that engine. And by the time we are done, you will understand exactly why the next 10 years of transportation are going to look nothing like the last 50. If you enjoy this kind of breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe. We are targeting 50,000 subscribers, and every single one of you helps make this channel possible. These 8 machines are the reason the sky is no longer just for airlines. Let's count them down. Number 8. The Xpeng Aero HT Land Aircraft Carrier. Let's start with something that sounds completely ridiculous, until you see it work. The engineers at Zhongauto, a Chinese company that builds both electric cars and flying vehicles, did not try to make one machine that does everything. Instead, they asked a different question. What if the car and the aircraft were 2 separate things that work together perfectly? So, they built a 6-wheeled electric truck. Tough, spacious, looks like something out of a science fiction film. But hidden inside the back of that truck, folded up neatly in the cargo bay, is a fully electric 2-seat aircraft. You drive out to an open field, press a single button, and the aircraft automatically deploys from the back of the truck, unfolds itself, and prepares for launch. A few minutes later, you are in the air. This is genuinely clever thinking. Most companies trying to build a flying car end up with something that drives poorly and flies poorly because they are trying to do both at once. Xpeng Air said, "Forget that. Make a great truck. Make a great aircraft. Have them work as a team." And because they are building this using the same electric motors and battery technology already running in millions of regular electric cars, the production cost stays surprisingly low. That matters a lot because the number one thing keeping flying vehicles out of regular people's hands right now is the price tag. Drive to a scenic open field on a Saturday morning, press one button, and launch a personal aircraft into the sky. That is not a weekend road trip anymore. That is something else entirely. And number 7 pushes the concept of personal flight even further. Number 7. The EHang EH216. We go from a Chinese innovation that separates the car and the aircraft to one that removes the pilot entirely. The EHang EH216S is a fully autonomous passenger drone. You sit inside, pick your destination on a touchscreen, and the aircraft flies you there on its own. No controls inside the cabin. No stick, no wheel, no pedals, just a screen, a seat, and the sky. Here is what makes this genuinely historic. In October of 2023, China's Aviation Authority gave this aircraft an official type certificate. That is the highest level of safety approval an aircraft can receive. Government inspectors examined every part of the design, tested it under tough conditions, and officially confirmed it was safe to carry real passengers. That made the EH216S the first fully autonomous passenger-carrying drone in history to receive that kind of certification anywhere in the world. Not a concept, not a prototype, a certified aircraft. It features 8 folding arms with 16 independent rotors, carries 2 passengers, and is monitored by a ground control center during every flight. The operators on the ground can step in if anything unusual happens, but in most cases, the AI handles everything from takeoff to landing, without any human input at all. Now, if sitting in a pilotless aircraft still feels a little too futuristic for your comfort, the next vehicle on this list takes a completely opposite approach to personal flight, one that is all muscle, all human, and absolutely insane. Number 6. The Gravity Industries Jetuit. This is not about sitting comfortably while a computer does the work. This is about strapping 5 jet engines to your body and flying like a superhero. The Gravity Industries Jetuit, built by British inventor Richard Browning, uses 2 jet engines on each arm and 1 on the back. Together, they produce over 1,000 horsepower, which is more than most sports cars. The pilot controls direction by moving their arms and shifting body weight. Lean forward, you go forward. Shift left, you go left. It is intensely physical and takes real training to master. It can reach speeds of up to 53 miles per hour and climb to nearly 12,000 feet. Here is the honest part though. The Jetuit burns fuel fast. You get about 10 minutes of flight time per tank. That limits what it can do right now. But military and rescue teams are already testing it for real-world use, imagining a future where a paramedic flies over gridlock traffic to reach an accident scene in minutes. And beyond the drama of it, every minute of flight time in that suit generates data. Data about how humans interact with personal flight. Data that shapes safer, longer-lasting versions of this technology. Think of it like the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk. 12 seconds in the air. But those 12 seconds changed everything. Speaking of changing everything, the next vehicle is being called the Tesla of personal aviation. And for very good reason. Number 5. The Jetson One. If the Jetsuit is built for thrill seekers, the Jetson One is built for everyone else. This single-seat flying vehicle weighs only 190 pounds, which is less than most motorcycles. It runs on 8 electric motors, hits speeds of 63 miles per hour, and in many places, you do not need a pilot's license to fly it. The secret is the onboard flight computer. It handles all the complex stabilization automatically. If you let go of the joystick mid-flight, the aircraft hovers and waits for your next input. It basically babysits you while you fly. The company designed this with one goal: make personal flight feel as natural as driving a car. Early owners have described it as one of the most exciting experiences of their lives. And the price, while not cheap today, is falling as production scales up. This is the kind of vehicle that starts as a toy for early adopters, then becomes a daily tool for millions of people. We have seen that story before with electric cars, smartphones, and personal computers. The Jetson One is at the early adopter stage right now. Give it 5 years, and it will look very different on the market. And while the Jetson One is changing how individuals think about flight, the next machine changed what the whole industry thought was physically possible for electric aviation. Number 4. The Autoflight Prosperity. Now we scale up from personal flyers to something much bigger. The Autoflight Prosperity is a large electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft designed to carry multiple passengers on routes between cities or across metro areas. And it recently set a world record for the longest flight ever completed by an electric aircraft of its kind, covering 155 miles on a single charge. 155 miles fully electric. That is roughly the distance from Washington, D.C. to New York City, flown without burning a single drop of fuel. For passengers, this works like an air taxi. You book a ride, you get in, the aircraft flies you to your destination on its own. The AI handles the entire flight. What truly separates the Prosperity beyond that range number is its safety architecture. The engineers built in multiple protection layers that work independently of each other. If a critical component fails mid-flight, the onboard AI can deploy a ballistic parachute within a fraction of a second and float the entire aircraft down safely. If a parachute is not needed, but something still goes wrong, the system can perform a full emergency landing completely without human input. This level of built-in protection is precisely what will eventually convince regular commuters to trust an autonomous air taxi more than they trust the highway. And statistically speaking, it likely will be safer. Now, if that range record impressed you, the next machine on this list takes performance to a completely different level and does it at 186 miles per hour. Number 3. The Airspeeder Mark III. Let's talk about racing. The Airspeeder Mark III was built specifically for the world's first flying car racing series. Pilots sit in remote locations wearing virtual reality headsets and race these aircraft through 3-dimensional aerial courses at speeds of up to 186 miles per hour. Think about that. Formula One cars race at similar speeds on flat tracks surrounded by walls and barriers. These vehicles race through open airspace in 3 full dimensions, guided by pilots who can only see through a VR headset. It looks wild because it is wild. But here is the part that matters beyond the spectacle. Every major racing competition in history has been an engineering laboratory. NASCAR taught us about tire performance and engine reliability under stress. Formula One gave us carbon fiber and advanced aerodynamics. Those technologies eventually found their way into the cars regular people drive to work. The Airspeeder series is doing the exact same thing for flying vehicles. The collision avoidance software, sensor arrays, lightweight materials, and battery management systems are all being pushed to their absolute limits in real races. Every close call, every record lap, every mechanical failure generates engineering insight that makes the next generation of civilian aircraft safer and smarter. That relentless push to extract more performance from every component, more efficiency, more range, more reliability, is the same mindset behind the ground-level breakthrough we are building toward in this video. Because as remarkable as these flying machines are, there is a parallel story unfolding on the road that connects directly to this obsession with doing more with less. Number 2 is where that thread starts pulling tight. Number 2, the Pivotal Helix. The Pivotal Helix is an American-made ultralight flying vehicle with a fixed-wing design and 8 tilted rotors. It weighs just 254 pounds. Under U.S. federal regulations for ultralight aircraft, you do not need a pilot license to fly it. And the company says you can learn to operate it safely in less than an hour. That claim is not marketing hype. The flight control software handles takeoff, landing, and stabilization automatically. You focus on direction. The computer focuses on everything else. What makes the Helix worth talking about in the context of everything we have covered is what it represents at a bigger level. In the United States, the approach to personal aviation is built around individual freedom. The regulations were designed to let people fly lightweight aircraft without heavy barriers to entry. The Helix fits perfectly into that philosophy. Across the Pacific, a very different but equally powerful approach is developing. In multiple Chinese cities, fleets of autonomous drones are already delivering hot food, medicine, and packages to automated neighborhood kiosks at massive scale. Consumers walk to a nearby collection point and pick up their order without a single human delivery driver involved in the process. That delivery network is not just a convenience service. It is a training ground, managing thousands of small drones flying through city airspace every single day builds the coordination software, the traffic management systems, and the real-world data needed to eventually guide hundreds of personal flying vehicles through those same skies safely. The delivery drones are the practice run, and that practice run is already happening at scale. The Helix and those delivery fleets represent 2 different roads leading to the same destination, a world where the sky is as routinely traveled as the highway below it. And number 1 is the machine that makes that destination feel closest. But after it, we are going to talk about something happening on the ground that is just as extraordinary as anything in this countdown. An engine story that connects the same thread of doing more with less into a number that stopped the entire automotive world cold. Number 1. The XT Trion 600. The XTI Trion 600 is not a commuter hopper or a weekend toy. It is a full-size hybrid aircraft designed to replace short and medium-distance regional travel entirely. And its design is unlike anything that came before it. It uses 3 ducted fans, which are large enclosed propellers. 2 of them sit inside the wings and can rotate 90 degrees. At takeoff, they point straight up and lift the aircraft vertically off the ground like a helicopter. Once airborne, they rotate forward, and the aircraft transitions into high-speed horizontal flight like a conventional plane. A 3rd fan in the tail manages directional control throughout the entire process. This means the Trion 600 takes off from a rooftop helipad, a corporate parking lot, or a private property. No airport, no runway, no terminal lines or baggage carousels. Once in the air, It carries 6 passengers at a cruise speed of 380 miles per hour, reaches 30,000 feet, and has a range of nearly 1,500 meters. To put that in real terms, a road trip that normally eats 5 to 6 hours of your life in heavy traffic becomes a 90-minute door-to-door flight. That is not just a faster way to travel. It changes where people choose to live, where businesses choose to open, and how entire regional economies connect. Communities that were too far from a major airport to attract investment suddenly become accessible. Families that spent holidays dodging highway congestion start measuring distance in flight minutes instead of driving hours. The Trifan 600 is the long-game vision for where personal aviation is heading. Not flying across town to beat rush hour, flying across regions on your schedule without an airline involved at any point. And here is the thing. As extraordinary as every one of these 8 vehicles is, there is a separate story unfolding on the ground that is just as dramatic. Because while engineers were figuring out how to make the sky accessible, a different group of engineers was quietly solving a problem that affects every single person who has ever stopped at a gas station. And the number they landed on is so far beyond what anyone expected that it made an entire industry stop and stare. 106 miles on Fern Gallon. In April of 2026 at the Beijing Auto Show, a Chinese company called Geely walked onto the stage and showed a number on a giant screen that left engineers across 3 continents genuinely silent. 106 meters per gallon, not in a lab test with ideal conditions on a closed highway loop in Hainan province in a mid-size family sedan. And Guinness World Records had official adjudicators on site for the entire test to verify and certify every single measurement. 106 meters per gallon, the highest fuel efficiency ever recorded for a mass-produced passenger vehicle. Official, verified, stamped. To understand why that number is so staggering, you need to know one simple thing about how engines work. When gasoline burns inside an engine, only a portion of that energy actually moves the car forward. The rest escapes as heat through the exhaust pipe or gets absorbed into the engine metal itself. The percentage that actually becomes forward motion is what engineers call thermal efficiency. A regular gasoline engine in the car, sitting in most driveways right now, converts about 30 to 35% of its fuel into motion. Everything else is just wasted heat. Toyota, the company that invented the modern hybrid and has spent 30 years refining it, maxed out their most advanced engine at 41% thermal efficiency. For years, that was considered the gold standard, the number everyone else aimed for, and nobody matched. Giles' new engine, the B15, hits 48.41%. Certified by Guinness, verified by independent observers. Here is the comparison that really puts it in perspective. The engines inside Formula One race cars, the most sophisticated internal combustion engines ever built, the ones that cost millions of dollars each and are rebuilt after every single race, operate at around 50% thermal efficiency. G built an engine for a family sedan that is within touching distance of Formula One performance, and they are putting it in a car that costs less than $10,000. When that engine is paired with a 308 horsepower electric motor and an AI energy management system that constantly decides in real time whether to use the engine, the battery, or both. The result is 106 meters per gallon on a public road in a car a regular family can actually buy. For comparison, in 2024, Toyota drove a Prius from Los Angeles all the way to New York City to showcase peak fuel efficiency. That famous road trip averaged 92.9 meters per gallon, which was considered a landmark achievement for the hybrid world. J's system beats it by more than 12%. In a vehicle that costs a fraction of the price, the executives at J were direct about what this means. Their new powertrain, they said publicly, will outperform every hybrid Toyota, Honda, and Nissan have ever brought to market. Looking at the verified numbers, that is not a boast. It is just math. But here is what makes this story even bigger than one engine and one record. Bigger than one engine. J did not build this engine in a vacuum, and the record they set is not a lucky outlier. It is the leading edge of a wave. Bide. The the company that recently passed Tesla to become the world's top-selling electric vehicle manufacturer, launched its fifth-generation hybrid system with 46.06% thermal efficiency. Their top model travels over 1,300 meters on a single tank, combined with a full battery charge. That is the driving distance from Miami all the way to Boston, without making a single fuel stop. Other major Chinese brands including Chongqing, SAIC, GAC, Chery, and Great Wall have all launched similar ultra-efficient powertrains within the last 18 months. Smaller brands are hitting 45% thermal efficiency on standard family vehicles. A number that was cutting-edge laboratory performance just a few years ago is becoming a baseline expectation across the market. Meanwhile, traditional engines made in Detroit by Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis are mostly still operating between 30 and 35% thermal efficiency. That gap does not close quickly. Redesigning an engine platform, retooling a factory, retraining engineers, and getting a new product into production takes years. The window between what the most efficient hybrids are doing and what conventional combustion engines are doing is growing, and it is growing fast. What makes this even more interesting is the way the technology spreads beyond Chinese borders. G does not only sell cars under its own name. It owns Volvo. It owns Polestar. It runs a major luxury joint venture with Mercedes-Benz. It actively licenses its powertrains to Western brands through its Horsepower Train Alliance. That means these ultra-efficient engines will start appearing inside European and American vehicles within the next few years. Whether traditional legacy brands engineer their own versions or not, pull up to a gas station once a month, fill the tank, drive over 300 meters before you need to stop again. That is not a concept being developed somewhere in a lab. That is a product sitting in dealerships today, and that reality is spreading. Now, step back and look at everything we covered in this video as a single picture. 8 flying vehicles are already real, already tested, already certified or in production. Some of them remove the need for a pilot entirely. Some take off from your parking lot and land in another city. Some fold out of the back of a truck. The sky is becoming genuinely accessible to regular people in a way that was impossible even a decade ago. And at the same time, the engine powering ground travel just hit a level of efficiency that was previously locked behind multi-million-dollar race car budgets in a vehicle that costs less than a decent used car. These are not two separate stories. They are part of the same shift. The walls between what counts as advanced technology and what regular people can actually afford and use are coming down. Think about what happened with smartphones. In 2000, a mobile phone made calls. By 2007, it replaced your camera, your map, your music player, and your internet browser. By 2012, it was replacing your wallet and your boarding pass. Industries that had existed for decades could not keep up with how fast things moved. Transportation is doing the same thing right now. Electric motors, AI flight systems, ultra-efficient hybrid engines, and rapidly falling production costs are combining into something that will do to cars and planes what the smartphone did to cameras and maps. The version of transportation that exists in 10 years will look completely different from what we drive and fly today. And the companies leading that transformation are not always the names you grew up hearing. Some of them are writing entirely new names on the map. That is the full picture. 8 flying vehicles already reshaping what personal travel looks like, and one engine that officially rewrote the records for what a car can do on a single gallon of fuel. The sky is no longer just for birds and billion-dollar airlines. The gas station is no longer the center of your transportation life. If this video gave you something new to think about, hit the like button and subscribe to expand knowledge so you never miss a breakdown like this one. Turn on notifications so you catch the next video the moment it goes live. Here is the question I want to leave you with. Between a flying vehicle that lifts off from your own driveway and an engine that carries you over 1,000 meters on one tank, which one changes your daily life more? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one.